Let's talk about estimates, your hub for accurately scoping, pricing, and winning jobs fast, built for client-ready presentation and quick handoff to jobs. Before you start creating estimates, it's a good idea to go to your settings and open your estimate settings. On this screen, you can configure a whole bunch of global settings that will determine how estimates function inside of Contractor Plus. So take some time and get this dialed in. One really cool setting on this screen is you can actually rename the estimates module to quotes, bids, proposals, whatever you want, and we'll rename it everywhere it's shown throughout the entire solution. You can also configure your global Estimatic AI settings, so you can select the default material vendor where you want to pull your pricing from, and even add global instructions, so things that you want the AI agents to remember every time you go to create an estimate with AI. So you don't have to add those instructions and bid preferences each and every time you create an estimate. Another thing that's really powerful is being able to import your cost book items. So if you have line items, things that you commonly bid on, you can import them as a CSV or Excel, or you can add them one at a time. I've added an example here for hang drywall, and I've added it as an assembly with, of course, the drywall sheets, the screws, and miscellaneous items. And I've went ahead and added a description and some markup. Now what's cool is when I go to build an estimate, we can quickly recall these items just by searching for them. This right here is the estimate list view, so it's a view of all the estimates in the system. You can see how many meet the criteria, and you can filter the list down to look at, say, only approved estimates, for example. And you can apply filters, you can change the view, you can even rearrange the columns, so you can completely customize this list view throughout the entire solution. For now, we'll go ahead and create new estimate. And on this screen, before we start building an estimate, we'll want to select a client. I'll search for myself. It's going to pre-populate my billing address and a service address. If I want to select a different service address, I can do that, or I can add one on the fly. I can choose to add a title, or I can just leave it blank, and I'll use the service address as the title. Now we can start adding line items. We have groups and we have line items. You can use groups, and you can group line items together in different groups. Great way, if you have a multi-phase project, you can put each phase in a group. For example, if you're doing a kitchen remodel, you may want to give your customer options for, different countertops or different appliance packages, different flooring types, and you can do that by creating groups. Say, I could call this flooring, and then I could add multiple, say 2 or 3 different options here that the customer could choose from. So if I added assembly, and then I can light OLVP, just an example, I could mark this as optional, and then I can leave it selected as a single select, so that it's a radio button. So whatever options I add inside of this group, they're going to have to choose from one of those options. For now, I'll go ahead and disable the grouping, and I will just search for the template. We'll uncheck optional, and I'll search for the template that I created, which is hang drywall. Now you can see it's added the default, the baseline labor rate for 2 sheets of drywall, and it's also added the materials that I need to complete that task. Now if I enable the ratio lock, then I increase this to say 3,200 square feet, and I reopen that material list. You can see it's it's proportionally scaled the number of materials that I need to complete that job. I can also enable the round off, which will automatically round up to the nearest whole number. So it's ready to go. I click to add it. I enabled the ratio lock with auto round off, changed the parameters of to fit the scope of the job, and there's the price with my markup added and everything. Of course, I can make changes on the fly. Now, the totals at the bottom will automatically change to reflect whatever's added at the top. Optional items will create a range, so depending on the option they select, the client's total will populate dynamically at the bottom in their, when they're viewing the estimate, so they can see which options they want to go with based on price, quality, finish, whatever. Really cool stuff. You can also attach a client agreement directly to the estimate. We give you a client agreement that you can edit and use if you see best fit, or you can add your own, and you can add merge fields. So it'll dynamically populate the contract for the parameters of the job, including whatever deposit and payment schedule you configure for the job. So in this case, we've added a 35% deposit, That's our default in the global settings. And we can just say we want to do that immediately when they approve the estimate, or by within a by a specific date. And then we can also configure a payment schedule, and we can see a bar at the top here that shows us how much we have left, so we can get that to 100% very easily without having to go back and forth. We can see exactly. So upon completing drywall hanging, and we can just say you can make it a dollar amount, or you can make it a percentage, and you can see how much we have left here. So super cool, super easy. And you can make each one of these payments date specific or milestone specific. You can also import the milestones from the phases or the tasks of the estimate. Then you can of course attach photos, documents. You can also add photos on a per line item basis if you want. And that's how you create estimates inside of Contractor Plus. It's that easy. You import your cost book items or your template, or you build your templates based on things you commonly bid on, and you can quickly send it off to a client in a matter of minutes. Now let's talk about Estimatic AI. So if you don't want to build the estimate one line item at a time or one group at a time, you can actually automate everything with our multi-agent estimate creation workflow. Here you'll just describe to the AI what you want to create. I need an estimate for, apparently I can't type today, for a 3,200 square foot residential drywall job. I will be hanging and finishing. I'd also like to offer to do the painting, but make that optional as an add-on, as they may want to work with their own painters. So maybe I could win the painting work as well if I also do that. So I'll enable recommended upsells and add-ons. You can also enable good, better, best options. It'll think of like different grades of, say, like flooring or countertops or cabinets or whatever to offer as options, and it'll do all that sourcing for you. Now, keep in mind, the AI can actually access your cost book items. So if you have templates added, it will bid the way you want it to by default. It also has access to local labor rates and local material pricing. So for missing cost book items and pricing templates, you can let the AI decide how it should price the line items, or you can apply a manual override or use our proprietary regional labor rate index. Same for markup. We'll let the AI decide. We'll pull our pricing from Lowe's for now, and I'll go ahead and hit generate estimate. Now we also have a little prompt enhancer tool. So if you think that you may have left some details out that could change the scope of work or the price, you can hit that little magic wand at the top of that text area that just closed, and it will think of things that you may have missed and ask you a series of questions. You can answer those questions. It will enrich that or enhance that prompt to get a better quality estimate, but usually it does a good job either way. And now the estimate's been generated, you can see the AI has added groups, created a group for drywall installation and finishing, added the hang drywall and finish drywall to this group, both at 3,200 square feet with the appropriate baseline rate per square and the markup pre-added. And it also determined which materials would be needed to complete the task. Sometimes you want to go through here and swap these out for materials you'll actually be using, maybe change some quantities, add some things that it may have missed or that you may charge for that it didn't calculate for, but it gets you a ballpark estimate that's pretty accurate pretty quickly. Then, as I asked it to also bid on the painting, it bid it at a $1.80 a square. It added paint, some paint brushes, some miscellaneous materials here, and it made it optional and recommended. So it gave, logically, after the drywall's done and finished, they're going to need to paint the walls. So it went ahead and put a bid in for that. You can get creative, or you can let it determine what it would add as an upsell on its own, and it does a pretty good job. So there you have it. This is how easy it is to create winning estimates in Contractor Plus in record time.